Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I will react to America compared why other countries treat their people so much better from second thought. I watched this video many times and also watched many reactions to this video, mostly from Americans, but also some others. And it's always very interesting to see it. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. Please enjoy this video. Like and subscribe and so on, and yeah, let's get this started. Let's see.
This episode and others like it are made possible by the generous support of my patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to help me make more content,
I also support him on Patreon, so do so as well if you have some money and can afford it. And yeah, let's continue.
like this, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/secondthought. I'm going to say something that will probably offend many of my viewers. Let me preface this by saying that I, as an American, include myself in the following statement.
I also think that this statement is not just true for the United States. Maybe it's the most true for the United States, but also in other countries there are similar problems. At least in other countries, which was like Germany and other rich countries.
Americans are quite possibly the most willfully ignorant people on the face of the planet. We have
As I said, maybe it is more true for America or for the United States of America to be precisely, but also in other countries there are ignorant and rich people. Yeah.
access to the sum total of all human knowledge. Yet our understanding of the world rarely extends beyond our own country. And even then, the majority of Americans believe in a vision of the country that does not actually exist.
It's kind of always it's the United States of America. It's not America. You know that people always refer to people from the United States as Americans. And what about Canadians, Mexicans, Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, El Salvador, and so on and so on? They're also all Americans. Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, Peru, Uruguay, Paraguay, and also islands. So they are all Americans. But okay, Trinidad and Tobago's, people from there, Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Costa Rica, Panama, Nicaragua, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Dominica. Now I say I named all of the countries in America, so these all people of all of these countries are also Americans.
exist. It's not that we're stupid, we just tend to blindly accept that the US is the greatest place on Earth, and therefore don't see any reason to educate ourselves about the realities of the rest of the world. In this episode, we're going to pull back the curtain on how America actually compares to other countries, and consider why the richest country on Earth fails.
It's like saying all people from Asia would be Chinese. To say that all Americans would be United States Americans.
To treat its people with dignity and fairness. I'm going to provide a list of important topics, then for each item we'll compare the American experience with that of citizens from other nations. Hopefully by providing a side-by-side comparison, you'll be able to see the
But I also see why he's saying always Americans always and not just always United States Americans, because it's much longer, but still, yeah. Just
stark contrast between how most Americans see their country and how it really stacks up against the competition. To give you an idea of just how skewed the American perception of our country really is, let's start with a pretty shocking example. Compensation for what are considered low-skilled jobs. We'll take the quintessential American company, McDonald's.
I mean, I know McDonald's is probably not the best restaurant and so, but when I was traveling back from Vietnam last year and in Dubai, my in-between hold with Emirates, and I was hungry and so, and then I got it done. I mean, So that's big of an achievement, but for me it was in this moment to order and to buy with my credit card some French fries from McDonald's. It was amazing. I really enjoyed it. And then it was early in the morning, and you could see how it got brighter and brighter over time. I had to wait for 6 hours or so, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. But probably still not the best food chain, and also from the quality and so on. So I don't eat so much fast food, but for this occasion, it was wonderful.
McDonald's is the world's largest restaurant chain by revenue. It operates in over 100 countries and serves over 69 million customers every day. As of 2018, McDonald's was the second largest private employer, with 1.7.
I mentioned this probably also before, but my girlfriend broke up in the beginning of January this year, so still very awesome with McDonald's.
7 million employees, behind Walmart's 2.3 million. How many times have you heard someone refer to McDonald's jobs or workers in a derogatory manner? For some reason, people who work at McDonald's are seen as inferior or lazy or have any number of other unfair and unkind assessments leveled at them. This probably stems from the old notion of flipping burgers being a job anyone can perform. But the animosity towards low-wage workers has grown significantly in the past few decades. And in America, McDonald's workers really do suffer a low wage. As of 2020, the average crew member at McDonald's makes $9 per hour.
It's of course very little, not much. I think the minimum wage here, the minimum wage here in Germany, the federal minimum wage here in Germany from, I think last October on, it increased to 12 euro an hour. But I think it should be higher. But that's something else.
The average McDonald's cashier makes $8 per hour. The federal minimum wage in the United States is $7.25, a rate which has not been raised in over a decade, and which should not be considered a reasonable wage for.
Actually, which would be kind of fair if the prices if things get more expensive through inflation. Also, the minimum salary should be increased in the same way, so people can still afford the same things as before.
Any position, considering the fact that a full-time minimum wage worker cannot afford to rent a 2-bedroom apartment anywhere in the United States, and can't afford a 1-bedroom apartment in over 95% of US counties. Now,
that's of course just cruel. But how flats and houses are traded as something where you can make money with is anyway cruel, both in Germany and in the United States. There is a wonderful video about this, about housing and Vienna, Red Vienna, and how I think it was 62% of all the people who live in Vienna today live in public houses or flats, and the rents are much lower. And I think nobody should be allowed to possess or to be the owner of more than just one flat, neither a house or so, because I mean that you can now two flats should be the maximum, because maybe you live here with your family, but you have to work somewhere else, and then over the weekend or over the week that you can live in the second flat. I understand this in some situations, but in other situations, just one flat maximum, and people with children also should have the right to have a bigger apartment or a house. And I think in the ideal world, people who are, for example, sick and old, they should have the right to live in more beautiful houses, like maybe the countryside or so, to on the one side get healthy again easier through the environment, or enjoy the last years, or I mean in a more beautiful environment. But that's just a socialistic viewpoint from me, how I think this should be more fairly, more equally, more in the interest of the people should be done. But yeah, let's continue.
The all too common response to data like this is something like, well, yeah, it's not a hard job. You should just find a better one. Here's a simple question. Should any job, regardless of technical skill required, pay workers so little that they cannot afford to rent even the smallest place to live? Not to mention other necessities like utilities, food, and medicine.
Of course not, but capitalists, very cruel capitalists would of course say, yes, of course, why should they? It's nothing is for free. But I mean, yeah, idiots, capitalists. It's a difference between between capitalists and socialists. Socialists want that everyone can have access to all of these things and enjoy life in the same meaningful way, and capitalists think that just people like them, like people who have money, should have the right to do this.
Absolutely not. That is inhumane and cruel, especially coming from the second largest employer in the richest country on the planet. Other notable objections include, McDonald's has to make a profit. If they pay their workers more, they might go out of business. First of all, if you can't pay your...
But what he is saying now is exactly what I would also say. It's I let him say it. Sorry for my English.
workers a fair wage, your company should not be in business. End of story. But again, McDonald's is not struggling to make ends meet. In 2019, McDonald's raked in $21 billion in revenue. But no matter how obvious the exploitation of low-wage workers, Americans are hell-bent on praising the very companies doing the exploiting. Take this article on Reader's Digest, for example. It's titled, "This is what McDonald's workers really get paid." You see that and think, oh, nice. Finally some news showing how poorly these workers are compensated. Then you scroll down and nope, they're actually praising McDonald's, saying things like, the food chain is also great for paying their workers fairly. And McDonald's is one of the highest paying fast food...
That's for example, that sentence is not very a compliment, because okay, they pay they pay the highest, but to pay the highest does not does not mean in all cases that it's a fair salary, because everyone else could just pay much more less. I mean, when everyone else pays just $2 per hour and McDonald's pays $4 per hour, it's much more than everyone else, but it's still far from enough. Yeah.
Food chains in the United States. This level of sycophancy is insane. If $8 or $9 an hour is some of the highest pay in the industry, that doesn't indicate that McDonald's is paying fairly. It indicates that a massive chunk of the population is being paid poverty wages. This is where taking an international perspective is so critical. If all you see is feel-good stories about how well McDonald's workers are paid, you'll never know how badly American workers are actually being treated.
And now we go to Denmark. To a McDonald's in Denmark, I guess. I think.
Let's take the same company, the same position, but in a different country. Here's a McDonald's in Denmark. The average McDonald's worker in Denmark, for doing this...
I like Denmark. I was traveled there earlier when I was younger, every year with my family, and I look forward to travel there once again at some point.
Same low-skill job makes $22 per hour. Well, hold on, you hear Reader's Digest scream from across the Atlantic. McDonald's workers in America get paid vacation days after just a year of work. Wow, enticing. In Denmark...
In Germany, I think it is 25 days that everyone gets free, which is guaranteed to get free. In any position, in every job, you get 25 days of free paid holidays per year.
When you're hired at McDonald's, not only are you making nearly 3 times what you would make in an American Mickey D's, you also...
And of course, if you're sick, you don't have to go to work. You don't need any sick days. So, I mean, I've heard of that in the United States is different, but here in Germany, of course, sick days. You're sick, you go to a doctor, and you get a paper which proves that you're sick. And then you're sick, then you don't need to go to work. And your boss can't fire you because you are sick.
So instantly have access to a full year of paid family leave and a pension. No slaving away for a year to prove your value to the company. You're hired and you're treated fairly. Simple as that. McDonald's can afford to compensate all their workers like this, but they won't, because US laws allow them to exploit American workers to the point where they're basically slaves, earning the bare minimum to survive, paying all of their income and often going into debt just to pay rent, and having no way to escape this vicious cycle because they're working such long hours. This is the case across all of America's low-wage jobs, of which there are many. The plight of the low-wage worker is incredibly dire, and all you have to do to understand that is look at how those same workers are treated in other wealthy countries. Let's move on to another topic: work-life balance. Fair wages are
I just always when I see these people, and I think always, where are they from? Are they friends or so? I mean, I watched this video before, and it doesn't matter so much, but it's just something. That's why I paused.
countries. Let's move on to another topic: work-life balance. Fair wages are definitely part of this equation. If you're paid fairly, you don't need to work a second job, which will free up your time to be spent elsewhere. But we're going to focus on other metrics, specifically the length of the work week, vacation time, and parental leave. Let's start with the
I think also when you are pregnant here in Germany as a woman, you can't work in a company 1 month after the child is born, and you are choose to you have the option not to work and get still paid 2 months before your baby gets born. And after, I think you can have up to 9 months, when I'm not mistaken. Time off your job, and you can go into your job again for free. But and also the father, I think it's for the mother and the father, it's options of child parental leave, and 6 days, as I said, doesn't exist.
US. Most Americans would say that 40 hours per week is full-time.
I think here it's also 40 hours.
That seems to be the general consensus. But, in keeping with the country's exploitative labor practices, the hilariously named Fair Labor Standards Act does not actually define what qualifies as full-time. That's left up to the employer.
I think here in Germany it's definitely not left up to the employer. There is a law probably, and I don't just know it out of the head in the moment what exactly is full-time, but it is written down somewhere.
Okay, why does this matter? Well, think of your past part-time jobs. Did you get any benefits? Healthcare, 401k? Probably not. Most benefits, when they're offered at all, are reserved for full-time employees. Companies don't want to provide benefits because they affect their bottom line. America is all about cutting costs, and providing workers with fair compensation is a cost. So, imagine you apply for a full-time job at Best Buy. You're offered the job, but they tell you they only have part-time positions, but they can give you almost full-time. They make it sound like they're doing you a favor, offering you more hours than normal part-time. But this is just another example.
I just searched on my phone here for something. The average working week in Germany is between 36 and 40 hours. The majority of full-time jobs in Germany are 7 or 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, with an hour or 30 minutes break at lunchtime. Yeah, but there's for everything like this. There's for everything there's law, which really I mean also at the end of your workday, between the end of the workday or from the one day to the start of the workday or the next day, there must be at least 11 hours of free time, I think, and when you work for 6 hours or for 8 hours a day, there must be a break after 6 hours, which lasts at least 30 minutes. And so for every small detail, there's a law, and that's also good, I think. Let's continue.
Example of employers exploiting their workers. If you work 37 hours per week, you're essentially a full-time employee, but they don't have to provide you any sort of benefits. No healthcare, no vacation, nothing.
And of course, so we in Germany we have I think 6 different types of insurance, and the one insurance, Unfallversicherung, accident insurance, Unfallversicherung. The one insurance is paid completely by the employer, so he has motivation to make the workplace as safe as possible, so no accidents occur for the worker. Then there's insurances like unemployment insurance, health insurance, Pflegeversicherung. I don't know what that is in English, but the other insurances are mostly shared. Half of the half is paid by the employer, the half is paid from the worker. I mean, but before you even get your salary, so when I worked before I even got my salary, from the salary I got at the end of the month, the things I had to pay, like health insurance and everything else, was already taken away from the money. So I theoretically would have earned, for example, 520 euros, and I got paid 480 or so, or 450. So the 120 or something like this euros from my salary was already taken away. So I was insured in all ways, but yeah, I didn't have to pay anything extra. Let's continue.
This is a common practice. Companies will hire people, but keep them just below the threshold for full-time to avoid providing fair compensation. I've seen it happen.
But of course, also in Germany, people who have a workforce, or companies are trying to save money wherever they can. But I think most companies will also think it's very weird to not pay the workers or the half of the insurance, as it is much more common. And I think also the most conservative politicians would look on some laws and some practices in the United States with a weird eye. So it is there are of course right-wing politicians, and also liberal politicians which want to even more free markets and less government influence on the economy. But I think overall the majority of German politicians are still in favor of this whole system and would defend it. But yeah, I of course can imagine, and I wish, of course, something much more socialistic like, but yeah, that's something else. Let's continue.
I used to work at Best Buy, and they would do it all the time. And that's just the companies who are still trying to appear generous. Others will simply not offer benefits at all, or set their full-time positions at 50 or 60 hours per week. Sales positions are notorious for this. They'll often say, well, we expect you to work 40 hours, but all the top sellers are working 60 to 70 hours per week. This is coercion. They're trying to pressure you into working more hours to benefit them, and the compensation is never what they claim it will be. By allowing employers to define full-time work, American workers are held captive by corporations, forced to either work absurd hours to qualify for full-time benefits, or find a second job to help cover the cost of things like health insurance. Both of these options lead to a terrible work-life balance, and as real wages have decreased and benefits have been offered less and less over the years, huge numbers of American workers have developed an unhealthy work-life balance. For example, in 1960, when workers had real bargaining power, only 20%.
All the workforce of the country have always to work together, form unions, and so they can defend themselves against the corporations, and also put their positions on the table and fight for it. That's where unions are a great thing. So I mean, my ex-girlfriend also, she got paid in the job she last had much less than she, by the law, would have a right for. But yeah, no one is really saying that's my right. I have the right to get paid this. because then you get just fired and someone else replaces you. So I'm not sure about the union rate in Vietnam, but it's always good when there are unions which can work together and help the worker to get his right, not just on paper but also in reality, the money that he deserves.
Of American women worked. Today, 70% of children live in households where both parents are working full-time. Where does all this lead? As of 2020, over 85% of American men and 66% of women work more than 40 hours per week. We work 137 more hours per year than Japanese workers, 260 more than the British, and 499 more hours per year than the French. Why do other countries have such a better balance? Because many of them have laws that cap the length of the full-time work week.
Yes, for example, I mentioned this already before. In Germany, there's this law which guarantees that you have at least 11 hours of free time between the end of the last work day and the beginning of the next work day. So laws like this or other laws make it impossible for people or companies to let their workers just work the whole night through or work so long that they can't sleep very much. So yeah, that's great. I like it.
Companies are required to pay their workers fairly and allow enough time off for employees to maintain a healthy work-life balance. That's not the case in the US. Vacation time is a similar story. Whereas many other countries mandate that employers
25 days in Germany and much other more days also somewhere else, but 25 days in Germany, and I had something. I had this kind of mini job or a different kind of job. I had 20 days of a year, but the normal for full time work is 25 days a year.
Provide paid vacation and sick days. The US
and sick days that do not exist. As I don't think that sick days is anything which should exist anywhere, because when you're sick you can't work, you should not work. It's good that you don't work because you could infect others, and it benefits everyone when you just stay at home and get healthy again.
Does not. In every industrialized nation, workers get more paid vacation days and holidays than in the US. Here's a depressing graph to illustrate just how poorly we
Let's take a look. France, United Kingdom, Austria, 38 days off, that's much. I think that's even the most. Portugal is also very good, it's 35. Yeah, but the United States, 0. Even Japan. Well, what means even? But I don't know where's the difference between paid holidays and paid vacation. What's the difference between those?
Treat our workers. France 31, Spain 34, Austria 38, America 0. 0 paid vacation days, 0 paid holidays. And remember,
is paid holidays like on national holidays like the 4th of June, 4th of July, I think was it, or the 9th of the 1st of May and the 24th of December. Are these paid holidays, or would this be paid holidays? And paid vacation is when you can choose the day where you have free time. This is maybe the difference. Yeah, maybe.
These are the mandated figures. Every Austrian worker gets a minimum of 38 paid days off per year. Even in the worst possible employment situation, they'd still get 38 paid days off.
It sounds probably very absurd and weird for people from the United States, but for me it's normal. So this was the whole life how I worked.
In the US, many workers are lucky to get Christmas or Thanksgiving off at all, and the odds that it's a paid holiday? Next to 0. Let's move on to our final comparison, paid parental leave. Many Americans aren't even aware this is a thing, so let me explain.
I will also show it later. It's completely off topic, but I want also children. They look cute.
When an employee of a company has a child, sometimes they're offered parental leave, a period of time where they can stay home from work to bond with and take care of their new baby. This greatly benefits the employee, the child, and, in the long run, the company, because the employee will be happier, less stressed, and more loyal to the company. Of course, offering paid parental leave doesn't benefit corporations
not in the short term, but in the long term. So, I mean, I don't understand why American companies are so obsessed with the present and don't are able to look into the future, because it benefits them also in the long term. Anyway, it's just ridiculous and stupid in my opinion.
the short term. And if there's one thing that encapsulates the American business philosophy, it's short-term gains over all else. So it won't surprise you to learn that the US is the only industrialized nation on the planet that does not mandate some amount of paid parental leave. This may be shocking to my American viewers because being able to get paid to spend time with your newborn child sounds like an impossible dream in our dystopian labor market. And honestly, it probably is impossible in our current America. We're so invested in...
You have to change something in the United States of America. We also in Germany and in many other places as well, but also in the United States.
self-destructive capitalism that even suggesting the possibility of paid parental leave would put US politicians out of a job. That's not the case in the rest of the industrialized world. In fact, every other OECD nation, and even in many third world countries, new parents are guaranteed at least several
Oh, babies are so cute. I mean...
weeks of leave. Let's take a look at a few of them. Ethiopia, a country with an annual gross national income of under $900 per person, offers 90 days of leave with 100% pay. Madagascar, 14 weeks at 100%. Afghanistan, 90 days.
It's also funny
Pay.
here.
Madagascar, 14 weeks at 100%. Afghanistan.
It's also funny that Afghanistan, the country that the United States really fucked up with war, with 20 years of war, still offers 90 days, so not even 90 times more, because 0 times 90 is still 0, but more, I mean, so much more than the United States, where they don't offer anything. But let's just imagine the United States will offer 1 day, just to make it more funny to compare it. It's 90 times more. In this case, it would be 90 times more still, and so you don't even offer 1 day, but it's just amazing. And I mean, Ethiopia is also not very the richest country. Probably they are much better off than Afghanistan, like Madagascar, but still. Also in Ethiopia there's also a war, a civil war, or wars at least. I'm not sure how the situation is in the moment. Anyway.
And 90 days. Denmark, 52.
This is amazing. 52 weeks for an entire year of paid vacation. I like this. I mean, I think that in Germany it's somewhere similar, but still, it's also amazing.
Weeks. Norway, 56 weeks.
Just a few weeks more.
France, 16 weeks at 100% pay for your first child, up to 26 weeks for your third, on top of 104 unpaid weeks. Lithuania,
Lithuania is in this case one of the best countries I've ever heard of this. Maybe there are better countries, but yeah, you see.
52 weeks at 100%, plus an additional 52 weeks at 80%.
That's also amazing. If you just earn well enough, then also 80% would be enough, and you could just take 2 years off work completely. To spend with your new child. Which is probably beneficial for the child and also for you. Amazing. I mean, the other things I don't like about Lithuania, but this is amazing.
Again, the United States does not mandate a single day of paid parental leave even for the mother, and the father is never considered. This means that workers in America have to choose to either...
I said it before, but in Germany it's for both parents. Both parents have the same right to take the same time off. Just the wife or the woman, I mean, can also take time off before the child gets born. The father can't do this, I think. But it's also understandable because it's a woman who have to, you know, I mean, I don't know how to say it in the active way, but the baby is born from the woman, so it's understandable that she has some extra time off.
pay the exorbitant cost of childcare, or have one parent quit their job in order to take care of the child. These are both bad options, which often lead.
I mean, it's so cute here. This with a little foot, and so I really want children later.
Quit their job in order to take care of the child. These are both bad options.
I know it's much work, children, but anyway, that's something else. That's something for another video for later, and yeah, theoretical for later. Let's see.
Which often lead to economic precarity. But that doesn't matter to the companies employing American workers. Profit is the only thing that matters. Hopefully seeing these labor practices compared like this has made it clear that.
But what is the profit for when you don't can you pay your workers a fair salary? I mean, okay, your company is better off than in the last year. You maybe in the first year of the company's existence you had 1 billion. In the second or third year you have 5 billion. Well, you have 5 billion euro. You run 5 billion euros through profit. Great. But what will you use this money for? Just living in luxury and wasting it for yourself, or helping other people through better salaries? Of course you use it for yourself. But I mean, when I would be the boss of a company, I would also want this the people who work for me can have the same luxury as I. So it's just weird. You have your money, okay? Congratulations. What will you do with it? Just throwing it out of the window and bribing politicians? Or I mean, it's stupid to just yeah, my company is better off than last year. We have paid everything. We have paid the workers. We have paid for the rent of our store. We have paid everything that we have to pay, and we still have 5 million left. Great. It just seems to me so weird to be happy about this. That I have 5 million left, but I don't know what to do with it. I can just have more luxury, but still others are living very badly. Anyway, let's continue. I just don't understand it.
That not only is the US not living up to its claim to being the greatest nation on Earth, but also that it consistently ranks poorly and often dead last in terms of labor metrics. Why is it that the wealthiest, most powerful nation on Earth can't pay their workers a fair wage, or provide healthcare, vacation time, or paid parental leave? You should realize by now that it's not that they can't, it's that they won't. Everything in America is beholden to the almighty dollar. Profit is the only motivator. If an action does not produce a greater profit, it will not be considered. Over the last few decades, Americans have watched as our livelihoods, our quality of life, and our dignity have all been stripped away by those who already make obscene amounts of money. Those in power say we're all in this together, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The ultra-wealthy and the world's largest corporations rely on Americans remaining ignorant. They rely on us accepting the lie that America is the greatest nation on Earth, that it couldn't possibly get any better. All you have to do to shatter that lie is to take a look around the world. Other nations take care of their citizens. Even impoverished nations, or nations that we've bombed into oblivion, take better care of their people than the US does. American workers need to relearn the language of class struggle, and work together to...
Many countries still need to learn this. Also, for example, Vietnam or other countries in the world, which where there's a great workforce, but they let themselves being exploited by some rich assholes. So in many countries, the workforce, so the people who work, have to relearn this language of class struggle to get their demands through. The same for soldiers, or like for example also with Ukraine and Russia. The soldiers who are forced to fight in this stupid war, they have to just strike and refuse to fight. If the soldier refuses to fight, then there's no war. So we have to many people have to learn this language of struggle to get things through what they need, like peace or good salary.
Break the wheel of the capitalist machine. If we want to claim that the United States is the greatest place on Earth, we need to make it that way.
Also, even if it would be absolutely free and it would be good to live there, why should why should it be your motivation to try to become the greatest nation on earth? It should be everywhere in the world. It should be great to live. And when we have reached this, then we can also go into space and try to live somewhere else as well, as long as we don't destroy life forms which may exist out there. But yeah, we should make it everywhere in the world nice to live.
I mentioned at the beginning of this video that this kind of content is supported by my patrons on Patreon. This type of video, while very important, is something that sponsors won't touch. In order to pay the bills and keep this channel running, I rely on AdSense revenue, sponsors, and donations from generous viewers. By producing explicitly anti-capitalist content, I lose out on both sponsors and AdSense. If you enjoy the kind of videos I'm producing and you're able to chip in even $1 a month, I would greatly appreciate the support. You can find my Patreon page and join our growing Discord server at patreon.com/secondthought. If you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like. If you hated it, a thumbs down. You can check out my previous episodes by clicking the links on your screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.
I support him also on Patreon. I also recommend to you, if you're also a socialist and like the kind of content he produces, to also support him if you can afford it. I can afford it barely, so yeah, do it as well. And like also my video, subscribe for me, and yeah, we'll see each other again, maybe also in a few days. I'm not sure yet. So see you next time.